Oh, that last presentation was amazing. Coming from tech services and mine planning background and doing those haulage modeling in Excel over the years, seeing that live on dashboard is fantastic, and the future looks quite bright. Let's move on with our presentation. Today we're presenting incident analysis using generative AI technology. And we have cracked the code. That means with enough computation power and vast amount of data, we can actually create intelligence. And when you look at the historical curve on actuals of computation power, we have seen improvement year on year, and it's just the beginning. So the AI models that we are going to see are going to be better and better every year. If we ask ourselves, why didn't we have actually AI co-pilots helping us do incident analysis before? If you look at the graph, at the top we have the human performance. So about 10 years ago, the AI has actually surpassed human technology, human performance, in reading comprehension, image recognition, language understanding, handwriting recognition, and speech recognition. So that happened about 10 years ago. But what was missing was actually predictive reasoning. So that's the last line you can see that actually spiked in the last couple of years, which we just mentioned about ChatGPT is a good example. So the tools that we've been building in the last 15 years, especially in the last couple of years, is enabling us to have co-pilots for incident analysis and mine safety in general. So can I just have some hands up in the air if you have been involved in incident analysis? And can you please put your hand down if you haven't had any of these issues? Yeah, so a lot of hands still up in there. So that's why we believe there's an opportunity to look at technology, especially the latest technology, to see if we can resolve some of these challenges in incident analysis. And to demonstrate that, we will go into a drill exercise. So unfortunately, on 28th of July, on 2024, we had a significant rockfall event on a mine site at Queensland open cut. It caused significant damage to the excavator, and the excavator operator was injured with minor injuries. And the incident happened just right after a blast. So when we are actually building an AI tool, it's always important to share a story. So in our story, let's say our supervisor actually gets on to the witnesses, collects the witness information, makes sure the settings is correct in the tool around where the location of the mine is. And then you'll see on the right-hand side the supervisor's phone. There's a handwritten statements from the incident just happened. And those are my handwriting, so AI has definitely surpassed human understanding. That was a good proof. But pretty quickly, in a flow of investigation, the supervisor can upload these documents to the system and run the tool. While the witnesses are having a coffee break, obviously, they're a bit shaken, the supervisor runs the discrepancy tool to understand what the discrepancies are in the statement. And then she actually works on a bit of a follow-up interview. Obviously, as we have seen across the conference, the human touch, human element is so important to have that face-to-face conversations when you had an incident. But this is a good tool, potentially, to actually get the right questions and have a good open discussion with the witnesses. So the tool now outputs basically example questions of what should we chase further from each individual to get this data right for the investigation. Next step, let's assume a couple of hours later, we got that additional data point on the right-hand side. Now we have the statements uploaded, maybe a take 5, and a bit of document on the answers to the follow-up interview questions. What we found is it is profoundly powerful to run this tool on minimal data very quickly to get a bit of a draft PIPO. So what that will do now is actually do a PIPO just from those minor amount of data, a pretty good one. And on the right-hand side, the tool actually provides further hints for you to go and chase, especially if you're not really competent in the subject that you're investigating. This is fantastic. So you can basically go and ask for those documents from the mine site. And in this example, let's say the investigator got a few more data points, like the geotech assessments, geotech report on the failure, the OCE reports and feedback, but also a blasting document. So the investigator then uploads all of these files into the system and starts running the tool on the actual ICAM analysis. Now we're running the event description. So how many times you got this wrong? I mean, I even get it wrong quite often in regards to writing a proper event description. But the beauty is the tool can actually analyze the data and write you a concise and standardized way of event describing. So this is the exact wording that we put in the slide, in the first slide, where we were presenting the case study. Then the tool can easily run a timeline builder. So with all the detail that's in the documents, it can quickly do a very, very quick timeline. It even asks actually the 5 why on certain events. And they are quite reasonable questions and answers. Then, obviously, we have the ICAM table, where we look at absent failed defenses or task environmental conditions. And the tool can give us quite reasonable answers. Like, for example, in the absent failed defenses, it's talking about post-blast inspections that didn't identify the hazard on the wall. And like environmental conditions about significant rainfall events which have deteriorated the rock mass. In contributing factors, by design, we asked the tool to be quite open and not just look at the data. So we are forcing the AI to think about all potential contributing factors about this incident. But what it will do is actually it will find out the percentage confidence of those reasons in relation to the data provided. And that gives a further hint to the investigator. You can either choose the ones that with high confidence, or maybe chase more data to make sure that you're not actually missing anything. Then obviously root cause analysis quite quickly so in this case, the tool found water infiltration and weakening of the rock mass and insufficient post-blast inspections as the root cause. And there's a bit more explanation on how it actually picked them. And obviously, what's really important from investigations is to learn as an organization so we don't have them again. So in organizational learnings, we really push the AI to find reasonable organizational learnings that we can actually push it across the organization. Next, we'd also like to look at the practical use of how an investigator can save time. So basically, with the data available on the tool, we can quickly copy-paste the table into the reporting tool that we use, like Excel, or through an API. And the investigator can edit as they see fit, and then just use your usual reporting on the ICAM. Now I would like to hand over the floor to my partner, Jem.
Thanks, Ekin. So how does ICAM investigation work? How does it work under the hood to streamline and make the investigation analysis much more efficient and faster? So it all starts with the investigator choosing a tool just like Ekin mentioned, can be an evidence collection tool, or can be an ICAM tool, like ICAM analysis or timeline builder, and can upload any sort of document, which can be handwritten witness statements, or event debrief, or video or audio of the follow-up interviews. So once the files are uploaded, the combined data goes to the main service, which is ICAM Expert Service, which uses the advanced AI techniques in order to transform the data and prepares it and refines it for the next step. This can include video and audio conversions, converting video and audio, make it ready for transcribing, as well as formatting the data so that the generative AI in the next step will be able to understand much easier and get the context. So the additional conversions could be audio transcription by speech recognition technologies in the cloud, and if there are any handwritten text, obviously, it can be used, it can be analyzed and converted to plain text by OCR technology, which is character recognition optically. Usually what we can get here is an image of the handwritten text, or could be PDF. And when the data is fed back to the ICAM Expert Service, it synthesizes the whole data and prepares it for even more deeper analysis and sends it to the generative AI model, which is a large language model. And we'll get back to this in a moment. So the generative AI now can generate insights, recommendations, as well as the result of the analysis, the comprehensive results. And then this response is sent back to the main service, because before sending the concise information to the user, it needs to be formatted additionally in order to support tables or visualization, any sort of visualization. So that's done in the main service. And by the web application UI, the investigator can see the results, review them, and if there's even a possibility of correcting them, just like you saw in the demo. So the real power here is ICAM Expert takes complex, unstructured data, refines it, and uses generative AI to help investigators reach more accurate and more accurate conclusions in a much faster way. Moving on to some of the strengths and shortfalls, it's actually a SWOT analysis that I'm going to talk about. So obviously, generative AI saves significant amount of time during the analysis because it's automating almost all these aspects, many aspects of the ICAM investigation. It's able to handle almost any sort of media to collate and transcribe the information. Also, it makes it very practical to use. And potentially by the UI that we can provide, the investigator is able to review all the evidence at once and compare and have the broader context and have the full story. This also reduces the human bias, because when people are involved in investigations, they might have subjective experiences, or just like all of us, they can have subconscious biases. In this case, all of those biases are removed. And actually, we can ask the generative AI to be even more careful about not including the human bias as well. And it obviously standardizes the investigation process because it's following a certain process. So one of the shortfalls we have, though, is still requires expert review to first make sure the data provided is adequate, because the more data we have, especially if they're accurate, the generative AI comes up with much better results, much more accurate results. So, and also outcomes might be subject to review. And also at the moment, especially in our model, it only knows what has been uploaded. That means it's just looking at the uploaded documents and reaching conclusions based on that. But there are more opportunities here where we can connect to SHMS or any other policy or compliance documents so that they can come up with answers which is more related and compliant to the provided systems. Just a short break to the SWOT analysis. So remember, the expert review is required. So where we're at with the ICAM expert is, so the top point is where we have the decision support fully dependent on the human and making the investigation, ICAM investigation manually. And down at the bottom, you can see the decision automation, which means the investigation itself and the decision making is fully machine-based. And we are pretty close to decision augmentation at the moment, which is helping the expert making decision in a very, very efficient way. So to continue with the SWOT analysis, there are some opportunities such as integrating the system to safety and health management system. And the other opportunity is the generative AI actually can learn from the results of the investigation as well. So when it completes an investigation, appropriate human input can be in there, like reviewing and coming up with a really good and accurate analysis. And then it can actually learn from that process back again. It can also raise actions automatically in safety database because this part of the system can easily be automated and it could be quite useful. The visual understanding is also another exciting opportunity because imagine when there's an incident and there will be CCTVs, perhaps capturing more details about the event or how it went. So with the visual understanding, generative AI is also capable of analyzing the video or images and interpreting them, and also explaining, comprehending them and explaining what really happened. The other opportunity is standardizing the ICAM categorization, because that can be an issue at times as well. As for the threats, we have data privacy considerations. So most of the investigation data contains sensitive information. And that's something that probably needs to be addressed when we're building these tools and when we're using third-party or commercial solutions like Google or Microsoft or any of the GPT models. And it needs to comply with the regulatory changes, and unexpected changes can be an impediment for the generative AI development. So in a moment, I will get back to this major opportunity and this major threat. So please take a note of them. So this is a supposedly localized language model. And we're working on this in order to train the model with relevant public data to start with high-quality investigation analysis results. And there's also data augmentation aspect of it, which is artificially producing data based on the incoming data and then augmenting it, which will eventually help generative AI to come up with accurate conclusions for a diverse set of data. And this is going to be probably an LLM, a BERT variant. Yeah, large language models help. So large language models are built to comprehend human understanding, like the human language, as well as generating them. That's their strength. And there's an underlying technology like vector embeddings, and based on the semantic attributes of the words, then they are assigned to a number, and then it can have the context awareness and to a level attribute the actual meaning to the words. So that's pretty much how generative large language models work as well. And BERT variants are particularly good at contextual analysis, very good understanding of the context and the ability to analyze. So we can build our model on one of the BERT variants. So back to the opportunity, like integrating to some of the SHMS like event and safety databases, as well as the privacy concern. So when we deploy this model, this pre-trained model into a mining company, the customer premises, then we will have a pre-trained model there. So the main idea here is the privacy and security is now in place because the data specific to the company will not leave their private network or cloud servers. And the other opportunity is obviously using this data to reach more compliant results based on the actual SHMS. The additional benefit we have is also having this data encrypted and feed it back into the generative AI model, and another technique called RAG to come up with this real-time interaction with the database, and in turn come up with a model like an integrated approach which will ensure that proactive safety management in place, and the result will be the ICAM investigation will be more secure and also more efficient. So I'm going to ask a question and hand it back to Ekin. Can we unite to develop a shared mine safety LLM using our collective data, setting a new standard in mine safety that benefits us all?
Thank you very much, Jem. Very important question we should all ask ourselves. To continue our journey as mining professional that really cares deeply about safety, I think this will be the next question that will be circling around, and we probably don't have much time to make a decision on this. But we'll leave that at this stage. But with all the technology and the opportunities that Jem just mentioned, there could be amazing products coming up to the market, and we will be part of it. Some examples could be the SHMS auditor. So we can actually audit the SHMS documents to each other, find gaps or duplication in the documents. We can actually ask the AI to review the latest recognized standards and do an audit on all of our documents. And rather quickly, we'll get results and updates and make sure our SHMS stays up to date and ahead of the game. Furthermore, quality of field leadership has always been an issue to monitor, right? So we are really good at counting the numbers, but actually auditing the field leadership is a lot of work. So what we believe is we will be building tools that can actually audit every field leadership, that can actually then provide individualized feedback back to the leaders about how they can improve their field leadership with the company policy or guidelines. Furthermore, there will be opportunities to have a full mine safety AI strategy. So every company, we believe, will have those. And that will be a key part of implementing AI into your companies. So the future is exciting. As a conclusion, we have looked at an example of a very simple tool on how we can quickly do incident investigations, reduce bias, and improve efficiency and quality, and standardize the quality in the investigation front. And this way, with using AI, there's so much potential to actually enhance safety and efficiency. We believe this could be the twin technology that Andres talked about on how we are going to accelerate ourselves to become an HRO, because we will have data-driven, unbiased, proactive risk management. And obviously, we have to ensure we do this within the law and ethical considerations. So human still has to be on the front line. And as I mentioned before, this is just the beginning, and we'll see probably more of these presentations in the next couple of years. Thank you very much for listening to us, and we share a lot of passion about this topic. So please jump into that QR code and give us your feedback. We'd love to hear from you what you thought of this. And yeah, please throw us some questions. Thank you.
Thank you. You've certainly generated a lot of interest. There's quite a few questions coming through on the app. So I'll read those and then we'll throw to the room again for any additional ones. So fantastic presentation. First question, is there a demonstration available to see the ICAM tool in action?
Yeah, for sure. So that demonstration that we've just seen was a live recording of the tool. And we already have bookings for a couple of companies that are interested, including like ICAM companies that actually would like to run these with their own data. Yeah, so feel free to jump on the QR code. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Could this program be used proactively to challenge the SHMS on fatal risk and principal hazard risks?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So as Jen mentioned, we have the technology now to embed the system into our SHMS. That means we can include the data from our event database, our field leadership database, and training database, and critical control database, where we actually complete our audits. So there's definitely a high potential to embed those, and we have technologies to start building them today.
Excellent. Does MineGuard-AI have the capability? Is that what I've just read? Hang on. Can the AI review previous incidents to identify any trends in causal factors?
Oof. I think that's a really good question. I think there's definitely an avenue when you're happy with what the results are from this tool, is to run past the old incidents, to look at, with the ones that we, for example, blamed individuals. If you can pick those ICAMs and actually rerun them through the tool and understand the gaps, there could be further opportunities potentially. I'm just thinking out loud, but we could potentially train the leader of the investigation, or we can actually find a different outcome that could prevent someone else getting killed. So I think there's definitely an avenue there.
Excellent. Does MineGuard-AI have the capability to interrogate the SHMS and conduct a gap analysis with how an incident occurs according to the witness statements?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I think that's how we presented the slides as well. So the SHMS auditor app that we are building will have that inherent capability.
Yeah, good. How does the AI know or learn what a good ICAM looks like versus not so good? And can it be applied to previous investigations to identify any gaps in those investigations?
So you probably answered some of the questions.
Yep, that is actually depending on the quality of the training data So how generative AI works is like if the majority of the data is flagged as a good analysis data, then it will take that as a base. And if there are any investigations or analysis that doesn't really make sense, then it will be able to separate the quality and come up with the quality metrics. Although there's some additional effort is required there to make sure that the good quality are flagged as good quality, and or the training data is, even without flagging, the training data is really high quality. So that will help with that a lot.
I think the opportunity as well is to democratize the outcomes of this tool. It would be sensational to have a joint LLM that we know that we trained with the right data. And I think collaboration in this space is probably imminent.
Excellent. Should AI language models primarily be used to gain information that is then verified, or used to verify gained information, or is it both?
It's a good question. Obviously, as we mentioned in the slide pack, the human still needs to be in the center of the control panel, and they need to make sure that whatever provided to the data to the tool is still valid or relevant. And the large language models, how they operate is they're trained on trillions of data points, and they use that reasoning to make sense of the data provided. So any tool like MineGuard on its own right now will rely on that training from that external source, and then opportunities to let's make Queensland mining LLM, and so the one that we can actually trust the most.
Great.
So additionally, just to add to that, it's like we are talking about these LLMs being trained on tens or hundreds of terabytes of data, which is quite a bit of text information. And assuming that it's good quality data, the verification will occur pretty efficiently.
Excellent. Got a couple more coming through. What challenges have you encountered regarding hallucination, and how do you combat it?
Oh, we've got a few stories on that one. So what we found very quickly, obviously AI has shortfall at the moment. The current AI that we talk right now has a shortfall on hallucinating. And we've seen examples of that when we actually provided limited amount of data. So when we asked it to do a proper ICAM analysis on just like 2 data points, 2 PDFs of statements, every time you run the model, it will generate you something different. But that actually gets quite narrow as soon as you start feeding it the right amount of data like you would actually work with in a usual ICAM. So as soon as you have the right data, the hallucinations basically disappear, and every time you run it, you get very similar results. And obviously, hallucination in AI is the current reality, but as we talked about, this is just the beginning. There's a lot of work going on in the space, billions of investment to actually improve that technology so models work a lot more accurate and less hallucinate in the future as well.
Yeah, that's almost an expectation from the model, the whole system is like also, as we talked about in the shortfalls, is like having an expert review the input data and make sure it's adequate. So that's one way to combat hallucination. It's also like asking the right questions to the generative AI is very, very helpful to reduce hallucinations, such as saying like, remove human factor from your response, kind of more complex kind of requests.
Is there a danger here to be too black and white? Safety is much more than raw data.
I think the danger sits in normal like investigations too, where we just rely on the human. So what the tool does is just speeds up that process. So if the human controlling the tool isn't competent to run the ICAM as well, you will get the same result. So obviously, as we improve these models by the next couple of years, I think, and if we need less of a human touch or control, that problem will disappear.
Will the system have the capability to interpret drawings of incident scenes?
So that's one of the opportunities that we mentioned in a visual understanding bit. So that is quite possible. It's an opportunity. The generative AI can, using the right model, it can understand images, what's going on in a photo of the incident, or even some cloud generative AI models has the capability of interpreting the video as well.
Excellent. Have we got any more questions straight from the floor? Yeah. Got lots. Work our way through.
Thank you. Good afternoon. You mentioned about AI reducing human bias in incident and investigations, but is there any AI bias and how do you deal with it?
I think, yeah, that's an excellent question. Obviously, as mentioned, the large language models, how they're trained, that we've seen it in the news as well, that creates AI bias on reasoning. So that is a risk. But what we're suggesting in the future, we will all start doing is actually build our own large language models with the right data that we all approve and share together. So we believe that AI bias will slowly disappear. Thank you.
Have you guys had the opportunity to put data into the system, for instance, like the Grosvenor Board of Inquiry information, and validate whether the outcomes of that are actually similar to what the system comes up with?
Yeah, I think that's a really reasonable question. And we have plans in place to test multiple incidents that we have public information on. The recent example is, I'm not sure if you were here on Sunday, we had the incident analysis session about Moles Creek incident. While we were doing the workshop there, we actually took the photo of the first page of the incident brief and uploaded to our system to run and compared it to what the regulator actually came up with as recommendations, and it matched 85%. So we will do further testing, and we are also open to partnering with other companies that would like to test this further.
Yeah, great presentation, Ekin and Gam. Just a question there with, we observed the supervisor having the ability to change the settings within the MineGuard-AI tool. Why do we have that ability and what's its purpose?
So that setting there was choosing, we probably skipped that pretty quickly. It was choosing the site, the state that we were in, the location, and the type of the mine, so it's open cut, underground, or other. It was also choosing the commodity. So I think the beauty of the tool is you can set up settings like that to make sure that you have the right conditioning for the AI to think with the right mindset of an investigator. So it could actually make the tool specific to a location and specific to a commodity that will have the similar terminology that everyone is used to.
Thanks, Ekin. In the last couple of days, we've seen how performance-shaping factors like the one from the Keel Centre can be used to mitigate investigation outcomes that blame individuals. Do you believe you can integrate that framework into your tool?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic opportunity. We were reflecting on this ourselves as well. After the Sunday sessions, I think the tool is there, so it's all about asking the right questions in the right way, so we can get the results that we want to prevent incidents further. So I appreciate that question. I think that's a really powerful opportunity.
How you going, mate? I might jump in real quick. You said that MineGuard is based on Llama, which is open sourced. How locked in to that program are you? And are you leaving yourself open to change to maybe a closed one later?
Well, yeah, that's a risk.
So
Did I get on? Could you say the last bit, please? Say again.
Well, so you've modelled MineGuard off Llama, I believe is what you said. No, is that not correct?
No, at the moment it's using ChatGPT.
So it's using ChatGPT.
Yeah, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I get the question.
Yeah. So you looking to stay with ChatGPT as the backing for your MineGuard? Or you leave it
Well,
open?
so the plan is more like actually we started building our own large language model. And this large language model is, we will be choosing a large language model that's particularly good at context analysis, as well as generating the analysis results, the generation of a holistic result. And so the additional benefit of having our own model, I think that's where you're getting at as well, is like the ability to train it further with the data that's company-specific and unique data. So these language models are not, so it looks like there's going to be more and more opportunities, more and more open source language models are coming. It's going to be like an evolving area. At this stage, the commercial ChatGPT we're using is pretty much a very good beginning, pretty capable. But we predict that our own language model will even surpass once it's specialized with the ICAM analysis.
But it's a really good point in regards to making sure the system is engineered in a way that we can update our models. And that's going to be the key for success for us in regards to catching up the technology trend. And because we presented that, I guess the second slide, how computation is increasing so rapidly, we have to build our systems that are actually capable of changing pretty quickly. Yeah.
Thank you.
I just have one question about language. One of the challenges I've noticed from working from site to site and company to company is everyone has different language at a site, for example, the names of equipment, what they call things and what they mean by that, and plus the acronyms they use as well. So if you're going to get information from across a broad range of companies and sites, even in Queensland, to try and put it into an AI model, how would an AI make sense of all the acronyms and all the different terminology that those companies use?
I think the opportunity here is to train a large language model together as the collaborative initiative mainly for ICAM investigation purposes. And then we can actually move that model as a part of the site's individual large language model. And the site's language model or the company's large language model is already, we would assume, is already connected to all the event databases, supervisor logs, the SHMS documents of that specific site. So I think we're not proposing to have a common language model that will change site's language model. We're just proposing to have just the generative AI capability that can do really good ICAM analysis, and that can be used together with site's large language model.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. Just had a question. We're doing a lot with post-incident reviews and effectiveness of actions on root cause. Is there opportunity potentially later on in the piece to be able to submit action response, as in we've closed this action out? Is there ways for AI to review the effectiveness of the action response and see if it's, actually addressed root cause or not?
Oh, that sounds like a really good idea. So I'll definitely take that note. But it's very similar to what we're planning in regards to field leadership quality control. So in that example, we can actually review the quality of each field leadership. It's very similar. So if we actually look at what evidence is provided for each closure of a critical control action, we can then actually alert the teams on site to say, look, this action is closed, but potentially this is missing and it needs to be reviewed again. Yeah.
Others off the floor? Got one more come through online. How different is this AI, is AI mine safety with AI for airlines in-flight data analysis?
A good question. I have no idea about flight. Not sure. Yeah, I don't have, knowledge about flight technology.
Fair enough. Have we got any other questions from the floor before we close? Okay, thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much.
Excellent
Thanks. Thank you
presentation.
very much.
Lots of